Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to a new night, and unfortunately, the last night of Ramadan nights for this year, with a very special guest, Dr. Lotfy Elbagoury, CELTA, Delta, CELP, and CELTAS, tutor, freelance translator, a lot of things that can be said. But of course, you know him better than I do. So, Dr. Lotfy, you're here.
Yes, thank you so much for this introduction, Mr. Muhammad. It gives me the pleasure to be here among you today, and I'd like to show my appreciation to you and Ms. Maha for hosting me today. Thank you so much.
So let me show your camera to the
yes, sure.
Guests.
Yeah, here I am. Thank you. Ramadan Kareem for all. And كل سنة وانتم طيبين جميعا. I'm so happy to be among you today. And I'm so grateful to Mr. Muhammad and Ms. Maha for hosting me. It's really a pleasure. And I feel proud to be among you today. Thank you so much.
So, Dr. Lotfy, what's today's topic? You know, a lot of people are waiting for this session, you know, and you've seen that on Facebook yourself. You know, people cancel their work, you know, people are waiting for you, and we are all waiting for you.
Yeah.
This is my first session with you, but I've heard a lot from many people. So I'm just waiting to see what are we going to talk about today.
Okay, well, this is today's topic is about a very common problem that I've always heard about from teachers. Many teachers complain about being short of time in class. So this session is going to be about classroom management or time management in the classroom, in the English classroom, how to exploit your time effectively, how to plan your time effectively, and how not to waste a lot of time in class. So this is the main focus of our session, and inshallah, I'd like to give you the teachers some tips and techniques to avoid wasting time in class.
Great. So, yalla, let's go.
Yes, sure. Okay, first, I'd like to share my screen. I'm not quite sure if this is applicable for me or not. Yes, I think. So can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see it now.
Fine, okay. So now here's some puzzles for you. I want you to try to work out these puzzles. I'll give you around 3 minutes to try to work out these puzzles and try to answer it in the chat box, please. Fine, so smart. It's not jail. Yeah, but it's smart idea. Excellent. Well, right. Okay, very interesting answers. So smart. So the first one is R, the letter R, America and Australia, the letter R. What is the end of everything? It's the letter G, the loudest vowel. I don't know whether someone. Yes, the loudest vowel I, but why? Because it is in the middle of nice. N-O-I-S-E. Yes, fine. The letter T is like an island because it's in the middle of water, the same idea of number 3. Yeah, what 4 letters frighten robbers? It's not jail. Okay. Any ideas? Okay, I will tell you about that. The 4 letters that frighten robbers are O, I, C, U. Oh, I see you. Got it? Yeah, so you can see the robot, so he's frightened. Okay, why is 6 afraid of 7? Yeah, because 7, 8, 9, you know, he did it. He ate 9, 7, 8, 9. Fine, okay, so now I'd like to ask you, who can tell me the purpose of this activity? What kind of activity and what the purpose of this activity is? Could anybody share his ideas with me? Please raise a hand. I can see that. Okay, Miss Amira Ashraf, could you please unmute yourself?
Good evening, Mr. Lotfy. Okay, I think
Good evening,
this is yes, it's something like warming up or icebreaker that make the student interact and make them make some brainstorming and make them think about the subject that you are going to give them.
Yes, yes, sure. This is a kind of a warm-up activity, and we usually do this kind of activities in the beginning of the class. And I would like to say that there are different types of warm-up activities. We have calming activities, we have focusing activities. This is a kind of focusing activities. We use the activity, the kind of puzzles, as you know, or as you can see, that you focused on the questions. You forgot about everything and focused on the questions. We use this kind of activity when the class or when your students are coming from a break, for example. And when students come from a break, they are feeling a bit excited and they are distracted. They are talking to each other. The teacher comes in and finds that the class is in a kind of case and a lot of noise in the classroom. So he asks students to try out or try to work out these problems or these puzzles. They start focusing. They leave everything and focus on the classroom. Okay. What is class or what is time management in classroom? So now I will show you 3 different teachers or 3 different definitions of 3 different teachers about time management. I want you to look at these definitions and write the number of the teacher that reflects your own opinion. Which of these teachers do you agree with? Now we will show the definitions. 1, 2, 3. Write in the chat box which one reflects your own opinion about time management. that saving class time as much as possible, and one, finishing the lesson plan on the specified time. The third one is using the class time effectively to achieve the learning aims. Which one do you think is the best definition? Yes, I do agree with you that 3 is the best one, because we may save classroom time and waste it again in something which is not valuable, which is not useful for your students. So your aim is not to save time, but to exploit your time effectively in class, to do something important or more important than these other things that waste our save time, but to use this time effectively. And now we will try to find out how to do this. So what can waste time in class? What kind of things waste your time in class? I will show you 7 of the most common problems that can waste your time, and I want you to nominate or to think of the top 3 problems, in your opinion, which waste your time in class. You only write about the most or the top 3 problems, in your opinion. Write the numbers only, don't write the full sentences. Write only the number of the sentence, number of problems. You can see the screen. I will show the screen again. Okay, sorry for that. I will show the screen now. How about now? Can you see it?
Yes, it's clear now. It's clear. We can see it.
Yes, fine. Yeah, very good. Very good. Well, if you look at the chat box, you will find out that not all of you have the same problems. You are different in terms of which problems are only class more. So we are different. Now, what we will do is that I will send you a handout on the group. In this handout, we have these problems and we have the solutions, but these are not in the correct order. I want you to try to match the problem with the solution. So you will find out in the group, on the Telegram group. Ms. Maha, could you please send the handout? So try to match
Okay.
or the number of the letter of problem with the number of the solution. We have an example, for example, A, problem A, the solution 3, like this. Yeah, you hear nothing because no one's talking. Now you are doing the activity. You have a handout where you have problems and solutions, and you are to match the problem with the solution. Well, I will try to share it here. Yes, I will share my screen. Yes, here it is. These are the problems and these are the solution. We want to match the problem with the solution. For example, number 1A, the solution is 6.
دكتور لطفي معلش اللي قدامنا على السكرين طول ده.
The handout's not there.
يعني تمام، بس اقصد لو حضرتك فاكر ان اللي ظاهر لنا هو الفايل، لا احنا ظهر لنا فولدر اسمه رمضان سيشن.
الفولدر
اللي ظاهر قدامنا.
I think maybe because of the internet speed it takes time. Because I opened it now, I will close and open again. How about now? Not yet. Problems and solutions.
No. Just give it some time, because maybe.
Not yet. I think. Yes, it's okay, no problem. And could you please, Bismaha, try to share the out with the candidates on the group? It would be good.
Yeah, Dr. Lotfy, can stop sharing, then open the file and share the file itself.
Okay. I will. Thank you. This is yes. Now the file is there, and now we will share. Yet?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think it appeared now. Fine. Yes, A6, right? Okay. I'm just giving you some time to think about the problems and the solutions. Trying to scroll down. Well, now I will show you the answer key. Please check your work. Who got them all right? Who got them all correct? Oh yeah, we will clear out everything. We will clear up everything. Now we will explain everything, not only see. We will dig deeper and talk in detail about each one of these problems and how to tackle it. Okay, fine. Now let's close this file and start addressing. Now, can you see the screen?
Yes, is it the same one about what can waste time in class?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see.
Yes, okay. So now let's start with the first one, using English in class. So sometimes when you use English, especially because some of you work in kind of governmental schools where the students are not used to using English all the time in class. So when you use English, students start being confused and they take a lot of time to understand things. So what to do with these problems? Grade your language in class. This is very important. And what I mean by grading your language is to use simple words, especially when the students are not used to English in your class, or for beginners or lower level classes. So grade your language. What do you mean by grade your language? I mean to use simple words and grammar. Don't use very complicated or high advanced words. For example, I have seen a teacher in class. He says, what is the conjugation of the verb break? Conjugation. So What was the word conjugation, and how could the students understand the word conjugation? It's very, very, very difficult word, challenging word for young learners, especially, or beginners. So you can use, instead of saying, what is the conjugation, you can say very, very simply, what is the past form of the word, of this verb? What is the past participle? So using very simple words. Also use visuals. And when I talk about visuals, not only pictures, you can use real objects, you can use your gestures and facial expression to support your language. For example, when you say clean the board, you can say like this, even if they don't know, say the teacher's room, so you can make like this. You can use your explanation, use your body language to explain things. The fourth thing, or the fourth point, is use sandwiching instruction. Does anybody of you know what sandwiching instructions are? Yes, we use this in a very limited way when your class is very or complete beginners, or the students are very low level. So you start giving instructions in English, then you give the instructions in the first language, in Arabic, then you repeat the instructions in English again, so that you start familiarizing your students with your language in class. Here, this book is one. Okay, sorry for the disconnection. I think the internet is unstable. It's okay. So we were talking about sandwiching instructions. You give the instructions in English, then you give it in the first language, in Arabic, and then you give it back into English. And as I said, this technique is not my invention. It's in Scrivener's Classroom Management Techniques, which is a wonderful book. Okay, so you don't overuse this technique of sandwiching instructions, because students will be used to that. But from time to time, or gradually move from giving instructions in this way to full use of English. Keep a routine. Yes, so when you keep a routine of using English in class, students will be used to what they are doing. For example, if you're students, or if you have a routine of, you don't have to speak a lot, or even if you speak English, students will know what to do, because they are used to this technique, or they are used to this activity. Let students help one another. So if you say something that students, or some students, do not understand, better than try to use the Arabic yourself. Ask students, okay, who can tell this, who can help his friend about the meaning of this word or this sentence. So this is about using English in class. Before I move on from this slide, do you have any question about this, using English? If you have any question, please add it in the chat box. Okay, so next one. Presentation time. As we said in the handout, some teachers spend a lot of time in the presentation, and they come up with no time for practice, which is a big problem, actually, especially for inexperienced teachers. What to do with these problems? Plan and distribute your time on activities before class. So plan your time effectively. Think about your time carefully before class, and write the time of each stage in the lesson plan. This will help you not to lose track of time, to be focused, and to know what you should do in this time and how much time you need for this activity. So if you have planned for 5 minutes, this shouldn't be 15 minutes. Yes, it may be 6, 7 minutes, but it should not be 15 or 16 minutes. Yeah, the third point is very important. Be informed that knowledge is accumulated. Many students learn more in the practice stage than in the presentation. What I mean by this? See, in the presentation stage, some students will get your point, will get the hang of what you say, But some other students will not understand from the presentation, even if you spend the whole class in presenting. Some students like to learn while making mistakes, or they learn while making mistakes. So give them the presentation time, 10, 12, or 15 minutes, then start to practice. Some students will know what you are saying while they are doing the control practice. For example, you are monitoring around the students, trying to help and support them, and use a technique called tutoring. You can, and giving them some tutoring, you can explain things to themselves. So this is a kind of tutoring, which is very, very effective for lower level. Use a variety of techniques in the presentation, because as you know, students are not the same, they are different, they have different learning preferences, different styles. So use visuals. Not all the time you teach grammar, you use text-based presentation. Sometimes use text-based, sometimes use visual presentation, sometimes use the situational presentation of grammar, because as I said, students are not the same, they are different and they need different techniques. So a variety counts in your class. Yes, the last one, applied tutoring through monitoring for lower levels. So go to students who didn't understand in the presentation time, instead of making the presentation very long. No, go to students in the controlled practice and help. Yes, this is very important, and a lot of teachers complain that some texts are very long and challenging. Students do not understand. We will spend some time in this slide. The first one, train students to skim the text before digging deep into the text. If you go to the class and ask students to read and scan information from the first minute of your reading class, they will not be able to proceed with the text, because this is very challenging. But before that, ask a very simple question. Skim the text to choose the best title, or skim the text to match headings with the paragraphs, or to match paragraphs with a picture. This is quite easier for the students. It's less challenging. It helps them to get an overall idea of the text before asking them to do some challenging tasks like making inference or scanning for information. Fine. So skimming before scanning and inference. Encourage the use of resources like dictionaries. This is also very important. The glossaries at the end of the books. This is very important. It will help the students to find out about words they don't know. Train learners to think about the aim of reading. Yes, this is very important. Students don't need to understand everything in the text. Some learners think that to achieve their aim or to answer the questions, they have to understand every word. And they stop at every word. And train your students to think about the aim. You have two questions. Your aim is to answer these two questions, irrelevant or ignoring other information or other depths of information in the text. You don't need to understand everything. This comes with training. Pre-teach blocking words, because if you have some confusing words that can block understanding of the text, not all the words, don't teach all the words. But if you think that the students will be confused with these words, they will not understand anything, so pre-teach these words. This will make students' lives easier when they start reading the text. Train learners to make use of the top-down processing of text. Do you know does anyone have any idea about what the top processing? Please raise a hand if you know. Top-down. I'd like to check the chat. Or anybody wants
أنا موجودة
to
مع
share?
حضرتك لو حضرتك محتاج أي حاجة.
والله يعني ربنا يخليك يا مس مها، تسلم يا رب، اشكرك. Okay, I can see Amira. Yes, please, Amira. Amira is raising a hand. Could you please, yeah, you want to, I need to unmute you. Fine.
Okay, it's okay now. Okay, I think it's about learning or knowing first the main idea of the paragraph or text, and then go down to the details of the text. I think this.
This is one way of doing this. Excellent. Okay. Any other ideas? Okay, top-down processing of the text is to make use of everything before every accompanying things, everything that can help you as a learner or as a reader to understand the text without even reading the text. How come? So before reading, you know, every text has some pictures around, some a title, and some subtitles. If you encourage and train students to look at the pictures, to think about the relation between this picture and the text, this will help them to understand what the text is about before even reading them or starting reading. So if you have a text, a Japanese text, of course, none of us knows Japanese. If there is a Japanese text and there is a football player next to the text, we will understand that this is about football. But if the text is accompanied by a picture about, for example, music, someone is playing music, so we will know that this is about music. If the title of the text, the Japanese text, is in English or in Arabic, say, for example, tourism, so you understand tourism, but you understand everything, the title will give you hints about what the text is about. So students need to be trained on using the top-down processing. Before reading the text, make use of all the resources that you have, title, subtitles, pictures, train your students to this. This will make their lives easier. And finally, do you have any question about this, about the top-down? Because we have two ways. This is a very, very complicated topic that needs a session, top-down and bottom-up, but this is in brief. Employ the pictures, the title, the subtitles, and everything around the text that could help students understand what the text is about before reading. Apply jigsaw reading. What do you mean by jigsaw reading? If you have an idea, please raise a hand. Jigsaw reading. Ms. Shayma, I will, yes, Ms. Shayma, just, yes.
Yes, hello everyone.
Hello, Ms. Shayma.
Hello, Doctor. I think Jigsaw reading, it's gap exercise or information gap exercise. Just learners read different parts of a text, then exchange information with others in order to complete a task. And we can do this also in listening exercise.
Excellent. Okay, very good. That's completely true. Does anyone want to add something? Okay, so jigsaw reading, as Ms. Shayma said, is about reading different parts of the text. You have a text which has 5 different or 5 long paragraphs. And this text may take the whole class to read and answer a couple of questions. So instead of wasting all this time in doing this only one task, you can distribute your class, you can divide your class into 5 different groups. And then ask each group to read one paragraph, only one paragraph, not the whole text. Of course, this will take less time than reading the whole text. So instead of taking half an hour reading the whole text, they will take only 5-6 minutes. So each group will read a different paragraph. Then after this time, and answer 1 or 2 questions about it. Then you will regroup students. So you make a different grouping of students. One each group has one from the different groups. So one from those who read paragraph 1, and one student from those who read paragraph 2, and then one student from those who read paragraph number 3, and so on. So that each group has members who have read the whole text, then they exchange information, they start interacting and exchanging information about the text. This is very effective, and it will save you valuable time. And one more advantage of using this jigsaw reading is that students will interact naturally about using or about the text. They will ask each other, or they will ask one another about the content of the paragraph that the other one has read. So this will increase the students' talking time in a natural way. The students will feel that they are using the language naturally. Of course, this will save you time. They will spend 5-6 minutes in reading the paragraphs, and then 5-6 minutes interacting. And this is what we mean by exploiting classroom time effectively. Do you agree with that? Okay, interesting. Yes, lower levels. So a lot of teachers say that I have different levels in the same class, and the lower level students take a lot of time in doing an activity, and other students finish. So I have to wait for those who haven't finished yet, and this takes a lot of time. I think this is a common problem. Okay, so we have here some solutions for this problem. This is called differentiation, and this is also a very, very long topic that can take a session or more than one session, actually, differentiation. We have had this presentation or this workshop with Let's Academy, Ms. Maha and Mr. Muhammad. But in brief, I will talk about this. Adapt the text for lower levels. So you have a text and you have low level students and high achievers. So what to do? You can, one of the ways is that you can adapt the text. So you have two versions of the same text. One is simplified. So you use simple words, simple grammar, and then give each one what suits his level. Lower levels will take, for example, the red handout, and high achievers will take the blue handout. This will help students to achieve their aim in this or at the same time. This is one. Sometimes this is not applicable because you can say that we are using a course book and we cannot change this, and this takes a lot of time. Well, okay. Adapt the tasks. Keep the same text, but adapt the task. For example, if you have a listening text, which is complicated, and some of your students don't know anything about in English, can they listen and do something? Many of you will say no, they don't know even their names in English. And how can they listen to a discussion about something very, very difficult for them? So how can we manage this? Well, change the questions. Give the questions for the whole class and give some questions for the low level classes. For example, if you say are in the conversation, are they women or male or female? So these two questions are very, very easy for even someone who doesn't know anything about English. It's easier to know or to get to know whether the speakers are male or female. So this is very, very low level. But also for some higher levels, but still low, you can ask them, okay, these are some topics or these are some words. Take the words you hear in the conversation. So this is achievable for lower levels. So you change the task, keep the text as this and change the task, adapt the task. I think that some of you are raising a hand. They may need to ask some questions. Mrs. Nasreen. Okay, I will unmute you.
Yes. Hello, good evening, doctor.
Hello, ورحمة الله وبركاته. تفضلي يا Mrs. Nasreen.
I just wanted to add something at this point. We even adapt our tasks in the assessment. I use two assessments for the students, one for the high level students and one for other low level students, in order to get them involved in my assessment too.
Excellent. Yeah, this is a very, very nice way to deal with the students, to give everyone the task that he is able to do. And this is very motivating for students. Good job, Ms. Nasreen. I think Ms. Shaima also wants to add something. Ms. Shaima. Ms. Shaima. حد يرد عليها يا جماعة عشان هي رفعت ايديها هو. Okay. So you can adapt the task, you can adapt the text, and you can adapt the task. And when we talk about adapting the task also, we can think about, if you have 10 questions, you have a reading text or a listening text, and you have 10 questions. You may not adapt anything. You may just keep it as it is and say, answer only 4 questions. If you have time, do the rest of questions. So changing the number of or the amount of work that the students have to do. So if some students will be very slow learners or slow doers, they will do the first 4 questions. They will have a sense of achievement. They did what the teacher asked them to do by doing only 4 questions. And those who are high achievers, they will do the rest of questions and they will feel that they are proud of themselves because they did something extra. So not only the nature of the task of the questions can be adapted, the number or the amount of work can be adapted. Okay, vary the level of support. What do you mean by this? So you keep the text as it is, you keep the questions as they are, and you say that you have a listening text, for example. You say, okay, now you will listen to a text and you have some questions. But if you want to read the script at the end of the book while listening, you can do that. So now, low listening, and this will improve their skills because they are low achievers and they need help. But every high achiever, they are high achievers, they are excellent students, they will not resort to this resource. They will feel that, no, we can listen without the support. So they will do. Sometimes you can tell, okay, you have the reading text and you can refer to the dictionary if you like. Or if it is a controlled practice grammar, for example, okay, this is choose the correct answer in this exercise. And you can refer to the grammar resource at the end of the book, or you can look, or they have handout, look at this handout for reference for you if you need help, or if you need to refer back to the rule, you can have it. So using dictionary, using grammar resources, using glossaries, using handouts, this can help the students a lot, those who are very low levels, and they will do the tasks at the same time. So if you give 5 minutes for students to do 10 questions, high achievers will do the 10 questions in 5 minutes. Low achievers will do 4 questions in the 5 minutes, and this will work with you. You will finish your task in 5 minutes. Okay? Any questions before we move on? Okay, let's move on to the next. Yes, instructions. Instructions are sometimes a big problem for many teachers and students. If you don't give clear and sufficient instructions in your classroom, students will be confused. They will not know what to do, and you will have to stop them and repeat the instructions again, and this will take a lot of the class time. Do you agree with me? Okay, أنا هعتبركم إن أنتوا يعني agree with me. Okay, so how to improve our instructions? Of course, this is a very important topic. It also needs a session, but here we are talking in brief. We are giving tips, not complete guidelines or complete sessions. So instructions, plan your instructions before class and write them down in the lesson plan. Unfortunately, a lot of teachers think that I don't need to write instructions before class. Why should I do this? I know this in my head. Unfortunately, this will not help you a lot as a teacher. If you write your instructions well before the class, it means that you have thought carefully about these instructions and about how to check these instructions in an effective way. Write them in the lesson plan. This will help you to refer back to these instructions in class if you forgot something. This will make your work focused and clear. Okay. Use body language while giving instruction. For example, now I'm giving instructions and some students may be low level. They will not understand what I say. So I say, for example, okay, now look at this text in your book or in this handout. Look at this text and answer only 5 questions. Only 5 questions. And after you have finished the questions, check your answers in pairs. So this is how I give instructions, not only about saying, okay, look at your book at page 9 and answer the questions on the text. And after you finish, check your answers in pairs. Students will not understand, or many students will not understand what you say, but support your instructions with using body language. Okay, chest. This is called chesting. Look at the text. Read the text and answer only 5 questions, and then check your answers in pairs. Body language. Stress important words. Some of the important words in these instructions are 5. Only 5. This means that we have more than 5 questions, so only 5. Stressing. Some teachers like to write the keywords on the board. This is okay for very low level. If you know that your class is very low, so you can write only the keywords. Don't write all the instructions on the board, only the keywords on the board. Follow your instructions by checking questions to ensure students understand what to do. This is what we call ICQ. So after these instructions I have given, so I can say, okay, will you read the text? They say, yes. Will you answer all the questions? They say, no. How many questions will you answer? 5. So now you make sure that students understand. And ICQs, I think, in my opinion, is another way of giving instructions, but through questions. So some students may not listen to you attentively while giving instructions, but once you ask questions, they start being attentive. And this is another opportunity for them to understand what to do or to know what to do. Also model the task yourself if the instructions are complicated. So if this is the first time for the students to play the hot seat game, so instead of saying and saying and saying what to do, telling what to do, see, why don't you model? Show rather than tell. Show the students what to do in this game. Play it with one of the students so that it is clear for everyone. Okay, any questions before moving on? Yes, instruction checking questions. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Yes, feedback. Feedback is another problem which can waste your time in class, because I have seen a lot of teachers in class. Every time they give feedback on a task, they say, okay, who can answer the first question? Who can answer the second question? Who can answer the third question? So when you use this technique, first you ask a question, then you have a thinking time for students to think about the answer. Then they raise a hand, then they look and choose one. The student gives an answer, whether it is wrong or right. This takes a lot of class time. So how to make up for that, or how to address this problem? Use a variety of techniques. Not all the time you can do this. For example, when I gave you the first handout about problems and solutions. How did I give feedback on this? Who can remember? Did I ask you to tell me what is the solution for problem number A, for problem B? Do you remember how I gave feedback on this? You can write on the chat box. Yes, answer key, excellent. And why did I choose to give an answer key? Because we have around 7 problems and we are on the online mode. And if I ask you and wait for you to write the answer or to unmute yourself and speak, this will take a lot of time. So I chose a smarter way of giving instruction, which is to, for example, to give an answer key. Look at the answer key. This is a very good way to check. But before giving an answer key, give students a chance to check their answers in pairs or in groups. If you are in a class, in a face-to-face, or even in the online, they can check in pairs or in groups. Check the answers in pairs, then give them an answer key. This is one way. Another way is to give them, nominate students from time to time, not all the time give an answer key. But whenever you think that the number of questions is very, very high or a big number of questions, choose to give an answer key. And when you think that the class time is limited and you are short of time, because there are a variety or there are different ways of doing the same thing, but it is up to the teacher to decide whether I have enough time for nominating or whether I have limited time, so I used to choose an answer key. This is why you need to think about your time before class while you are planning. So you make a decision whether to give feedback through nomination or inviting students to answer or to give an answer key. Okay, yes, fine. So inviting learners to answer, this is one way. Parent group check, this is another way, and providing an answer key. Variety is key. Variety is very important. Okay, yeah, I moved on the slide. Thank you, Ms. Dalia, yes. Okay, so now general tips for time management, and we will follow this by your questions. We will listen to your questions after this because this is the last slide for today. General tips: expect the problems before class and try to find out solutions for them. So you do not face challenge you are not ready for. Yes, this is why we have in the planning or in the lesson plan, we have a section called anticipated problems and solutions. If you anticipate problems, think about your class. My class is or has some fast achievers or fast finishers of tasks and some slow learners. This means that I may have the problems of some students finish first, so others have not finished yet. So the fast finishers will start making problems. Oh, this is a problem. How can I solve this problem? Think about this before you go in class. So you can use differentiated tasks. You can ask the fast finishers to prepare more questions for their friends. You can ask the fast finishers to go to and join other groups who are still doing the work, go and help them. So once you have thought about your problems before coming into the class, you are ready for any problems. You don't waste a lot of time. You know that this class, that some of the students come very late, usually come 5 minutes late, and they come and they don't know what to do, so they start making problems and you start giving instructions. So, okay, I'm thinking, okay, I will start this class usually with a warm-up activity that is useful, so students can have or can make use of the class time, 5 minutes. And at the same time, other students who join late don't miss something important. Because if you started a grammar lesson, a grammar presentation, and they come in the middle after 5 minutes, they will not be able to understand anything and it's not making noise. So think about your problems before coming into the class. Try to find solutions for them so that you are ready for that. Keep a routine of activities that both you and students are familiar with. As I said before, that if your students are familiar with a hangman game, you will not need a lot of time explaining what to do. So first time you do the hangman game, since you will need detailed instructions. But the second time you said, okay, we will play hangman game. They know what to do. We will play hot seat game. They will know what to do. Okay? So preparation is more important than, yes, okay. So keeping a routine of the language that you ask and usually do. So students who have, or when we have differentiated learning, or when we have kind of different tasks for different tasks for the same activity, students are confused at the first time. They don't know who will do what. But once you do this a lot of time, day after day, they will be familiar with what to do. Keep a repertoire of things that you do every day, since you will need less time to see. Avoid complicated instruction. This is very important. As we said, show rather than that. If you think that the task is complicated, model it rather than giving instructions. Keep everyone busy doing something that is neither too easy or nor too difficult for them. So sometimes teachers complain that there are noisy students who make problems or disruptive behavior, and this wastes the class time. If you keep all the students busy doing something, this is why we said differentiation. Differentiate instructions, differentiate activities, give everyone what he needs. So they will be busy doing things. Once they are busy, they will not make problems. Ignore disruptive behavior and it will disappear, because some students make disruptive behavior to waste the class time. Once you ignore it, then it will disappear. They will not do that, because they will know that you don't care. Plan everything well before class and don't talk much unless it is necessary to talk. Don't talk too much in your class. Unfortunately, I talked too much today, but this is just before. This is the kind of tips for classroom management. I don't want to waste your time. Each slide here today needs a session, and also the large number of the teachers attending gives no big opportunities for interaction. Now I am done with the presentation, and I am there for your questions. If you have any questions, please raise a hand, and you are welcome. عايزين بقى نشوف لو في if you have any questions. مش شيماء مش عارف هي يعني I don't know whether she has a problem raising a hand or she wants to ask something, so I will try to unmute you.
Sorry, I'm
Any
still
questions?
raising my hand. I'm so sorry. It's from the last time.
Yes.
No, I want to thank you so
No
much.
problem.
It's an amazing
Yes, no problem.
topic, and it's very, very beneficial, really. I'm a teacher. I faced many problems when I was a new recruit at the beginning of my teaching years. I learned a lot from just attending such workshops, courses. I learned a lot from reading. So I advise any teacher to keep reading, keep searching, keep attending such amazing workshops and Zoom meetings to learn and to develop their skills. So thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you.
Always welcome. Yeah, my pleasure. Okay, I think I have a question here. Mrs. Rowe asks, she didn't get the terminology, the Jigsaw terminology. Could anybody help? Does anyone want to share his idea about Jigsaw reading? Let me check if anybody wants to share it. Okay, Amira Ashraf, Miss Amira, please.
Yeah, it's all about just breaking out the long text into small text, and they give every group of a student a paragraph or a small text, and make them chat with each other and search about all the details of this small text. And at the end of this discussion, everybody will tell the main idea of his small text. That's it.
Yes, excellent. Okay, visually, so can you see me? Can you see my picture? Can you see me? Yes, please say yes in the chat box. شايفيني؟ عشان بس انا هعرض clear. Okay. Okay, I will stop sharing. So now can you see me? Okay, so now this is the text that you want your students to read. Okay, so how many paragraphs do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a very long text, and I have only 10 minutes to read the text and answer the question. So instead of saying, okay, read the text and answer the questions, this will take forever. They may take half an hour to read all the 4 paragraphs here. So instead of saying this, I can say, okay, now we are 4 groups. This is group 1, you, and I point to them. You are group 1, you are group 2, group 3, and group 4. Group 1 will read the first paragraph only and answer the first 2 questions. Group 2 will read paragraph number 2 and answer question number 3 and 4. Group 3 for paragraph number 3 answer questions 5 and 6, and so on. So after students finish, they will, of course, they will take less time than reading the whole text. After students finish, I will say, okay, now time for regrouping. This group, you are 1, 2, 3, each one. I will divide the group into numbers. Each group, after finishing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 in each group. Now I want ones together. So 1 from each group will have a group of ones, another group. Number 2 from each group will have a different group. So I make sure that each group, the next time, the second time, has the members who have read all the text. Again, this is the text. Paragraph number 1 for group 1, paragraph number 2 for group 2, paragraph 3 for group 3, and paragraph 4 for group 4. Finish the tasks. Do the first 2 questions, number 3 and 4, like this, distribute the task, then regroup students so that each new group has the different members who have read the whole text. So then now they can exchange information together and interact together. Okay, so I think that some others are raising hand. Mr. Muhammad Rushdi. Please, Mr.
Assalamu alaikum. Mr. Lotfy, how are you?
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. منورنا Mr. Muhammad.
Habibi, first of all, I'd like to thank you really from the bottom of my heart for this amazing, really amazing and beneficial session. Thank you very much. I you know, to be honest, I was planning to attend maybe half an hour or something, but I really couldn't change my seat, and I was just kept listening to you with full attention.
Thank you so much for this. When this type of engagement comes from professionals like you, it means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
It's true, wallah. It's true, mashallah. I really didn't leave my room, not because of my quiet nature, but because of your very attractive style and the very important topic. My question to you, my dear friend, is about the feedback techniques. You have kindly referred to, I think, a couple of ones like the nomination and the answer key. Could you introduce some other feedback techniques to us, please?
Okay. Yes, fine. So mainly we use, you can say, nomination, you can say checking answers in pairs or checking in groups. This is another way. One more way is mingle around the class. So sometimes, and when it comes to feedback, it needs a course, not a session, actually. But okay, overall, and mainly, we talk about when we give feedback on tasks, we have first nominating students. Before that, we can ask students to check in pairs. And sometimes when pairs are working together, you can pairs check with other pairs or groups with other groups. Another way of giving feedback is students mingle around the class and ask each other. For example, when it comes to this jigsaw technique, we can give feedback through mingle around the class. So move around the class, ask each other about their texts, ask them what you have in your paragraph, and so on. This is one more technique. Another technique is that when it is a written task, for example, because we have different activities in the classroom. So we have a written task. Students have written a piece of writing or have produced a piece of writing. We can start having a kind of gallery reading. And this is different. This applies to writing only. So students have written a piece of writing. So ask students to stick their pieces of writing on the wall, and then they mingle around the class. They read each other's work and write a comment on this, or choose or nominate for the best one. So the feedback depends on the style and the type of activity you are using in class. And I promise you, Mr. Muhammad, that we will have a session on feedback, a workshop on feedback, because this is a very, very long topic. So it depends on the type of activity, the time of the class. Again, you can ask, nominate students, you can check in pairs, check in groups, they can mingle around the class, you can do a gallery reading. And one technique that I like most is Jigsaw, and this is part of feedback. Do you agree with that? So I usually ask my students in class, when they answer a question, first one, okay, question number one, Ahmed, could you please? Okay, he answers. So I look at the other students in the class and say, do you agree with him? So now I'm checking whether they are involved, they have listened to their colleague or their friend or not. So now I'm training them. So I am involving students to the answer. So this is also another type of feedback. And also when we talk about answer key, please don't give the answer key in the same way every time. So you can show the answer key on the OHP, overhead projector. This is one way. Or you can add the answer key at the back of the handout. So after they have finished. Okay, now, have you finished the activity? Okay, you have 15 questions. Of course, I will not nominate 15 questions because this is a very long, it will take a very long time. So I say, now look at the back of the paper, of the handout, you will find the key, the answer key. Check your work. So now they are checking their work. After they finish, they say, okay, now if you disagree with any of the answers in the answer key, you can discuss with me. So now another way of involving students after looking at the answer keys. The answer key is not only, yeah, take this is the answer key. I can say, do you agree with everything in the answer key? Do you want to discuss something? This is another way. Okay, now my friend, Mr. Ali Ashur.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. منور حبيبي.
حبيبي ربنا يبارك في عمرك يا رب. Thank you so much. And, this is the first time I attend a session from the very beginning to the end. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Okay, my question is related to giving instructions.
Yes.
Is it a must to ask ICQs after each instruction?
No, please no.
Okay.
Not every time I give instructions, I ask ICQs. So for example, as I said, when students know the activity well and they are familiar with what to do, so I shouldn't ask ICQ. Why should I ask? I waste my time and the students' time. So for example, students know what the seed game is. So once you say, we are going to play a seat game, a hot seat game, they know what to do, so don't ask ICQ. So, okay, for example, you have a reading text like this. Okay, please read the text and answer the questions. Will you read the text? Yes. Will you read the text here in the book? Yes. Will they read the text here in this page 9? Yes. Will you answer the questions? Yes. Students will become bored because you are using the same technique every time, because you are asking about something that they know very well and they are quite sure about what to do. So don't use that unless it is important, unless it is necessary. This is why I added something in the general tips. Don't talk unless it is a necessary talk in class. Don't overuse ICQs, because once you take your SOTA or you get your SOTA, you know that you have to ask ICQ. So every time you say something, you ask ICQ. No, please don't do this. Any other question, dear? I'm there for you for any questions. I like questions so much يا جماعة. بحب الأسئلة جدا وبعتبر I consider that the session is questions. After I finish everything, the questions is the essence of any session. So please don't hesitate to ask any question. Miss Summer, regarding the feedback technique, you mentioned the last. Could you please explain what you mean by the other students? Well, involving the other students in the answers. So once you ask a question, or once you give students a task, for example, listening or reading or controlled practice, okay, and you decide to invite students to answer. Question number 1, who can answer? Okay, Ahmed, yes, you. So Ahmed starts giving his answer. After Ahmed's finished, don't say yes or no. Don't say that's right or wrong. You only say, okay, please, who agrees with Ahmed? Ali, do you agree with him? Ahmed, do you agree with him? So you are involving students to the answers. You train your students to listen to each other while they are in class. And this is the lower level students will feel that they say something. You just say, do you agree? He says, yes. Okay, you can also say, if you agree, please raise a hand. So those who agree will raise a hand. Now you are involving not only one in the answer, the whole class. Okay, I hope I have answered your questions about this feedback technique. Thank you, Ms. Ayat, for your feedback. Ramadan Kareem. Jama'a, don't miss this opportunity of asking questions. I can sit here till tomorrow without being bored of questions. أنا ممكن أقعد هنا زي ما بقول لكم كده لبكرة الصبح عادي. I'm not bored of questions. I'm not tired of questions. Mr. Muhammad Sabir, yes, my dear.
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام, Mr. Muhammad. How are
أستاذنا
you?
الفاضل.
رمضان كريم.
الحمد لله تمام.
حبيبي.
الله أكرم. زي حضرتك.
الحمد لله.
I just want to say that we can give our students like some numbers at the very beginning of the session so that they can concentrate more. And at the end of the session, I might, choose any student randomly. So I can say number 1 in group 4, number 3 in group 1. So help my students focus more and more. And regarding giving feedback, I can challenge my students by writing down the mistakes that they have made. And I can encourage my students to work in pairs or even in groups for the sake of time, of course, to try to know the answer. And this is a very good way I always do when it comes to giving feedback. I write the most common mistakes on board. And after that, I challenge my students and I ask them to work in pairs so that they can provide me with an answer. So this will challenge them. And this is a very, very good way of giving feedback to my students. Thank you.
Well, this is a very interesting way to give feedback, especially when it comes to fluency, writing activity, and this focuses on fluency rather than accuracy. Then don't stop your students while making a mistake. You are going around, take notes of the mistakes, and after that, you write the mistakes or the errors on the board and ask students to work in pairs or in group to check whether they agree with the statements on the board or the sentences on the board or not. This kind of challenge is very interesting and involving too. Then you start discussing these mistakes. Yes, this is why I said that feedback can take a course, not a session. It depends on the type of activity, on your aim of this activity. I just want to add something concerning the first idea that you have mentioned about giving students numbers and then say 1 in group A and 2 in group B. Yeah, this is a smart idea in terms of time, but be careful that this may be humiliating to students. The students may feel that they are not they are not human, they are just numbers. When I ask a student's name or when I call students by names, they feel that they are valued. The teacher knows my name. The teacher wants me specifically to answer. But you can use it sometimes, you know, as I said, variety is a key. Yes, thank you so much for this. Okay, other questions? I think there is one more hand raised. Well, there is a question about governmental school. Yeah, I didn't get your question, Ms. Ayat, very well, but I think you may say that the high capacity, the big number of students in governmental schools overall, this is a challenge. Yes, this is a challenge, and you need to be up to this challenge. Sometimes you have 70 or 80 students in the class. What I recommend here in these cases is that to do your best in dividing students, cooperative learning, dividing students into groups is very effective. Giving students or having a routine or keeping a routine of activities that students do every day is important and useful for students. I know that this big number is a big challenge for learners, but we do our best to overcome this. We don't just say, yeah, they are, we have a very big number, we can do something. No, you can do a lot of things. As I said, divide the students into groups from time to time, help students divide the text, as I said, jigsaw reading or some texts. Don't always think that I have to finish everything in the course book. No, you don't have to do this. Be selective in terms of what to teach or what to focus on and what to give an assignment, for example. So I don't have to teach everything. So sometimes I skip this task and I give them something more important. And sometimes I give them, I have a very, very long text. I give only one paragraph or one paragraph for each group. And this is quite enough. So I'm trying to improve and develop their skills without caring too much about finishing the course book. And if you say supervisors and these kinds of things, you can work, you can find a way in between. Something like, okay, you have a text for paragraph, as I said. If you give each group one paragraph, and this is all, you finish the text in 5-6 minutes, no supervisors will say to you, what are you doing? You haven't finished the lesson. No, I have finished the lesson, but I give each group only one paragraph, which is fine. So you can have solutions for this, and it needs a course. Governmental schools need a course. Mrs. Nasreen, I hope I answered your question, Ms. Ayat. Thank you for your question. Miss Nasreen. I'm trying to unmute you, Ms. Nasreen. I don't know whether you have a problem.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
Yeah. My question was also about the governmental school. I work in a governmental school, and the problem is
Allah يعينك, Allah يعينك ويعينكم.
Yes, I have 65 students in each class. I teach 5 classes. So much efforts every day. But the main problem is that the students I gave the prep stage, but the students in the primary stage, the teachers in the primary stage in the governmental schools don't talk in English even half of the session. And when they came to the prep stage, when I start talking in English, I feel that even if when I say good morning, when they come afternoon, I say good afternoon. So they look at me and stare. What is she saying? Oh, she okay. They stare like this and stare at me, and they're trying to say, what are you saying? We don't know what is this. She's saying something so much confusing for them. I say good afternoon because we are in the afternoon. They don't get it. The problem is that they don't like English, and they don't like to talk in English, and don't like teachers to talk in English. It's a challenge.
Well, yes, I agree with you that this is quite a big challenge for you, but you said something very important, that while they were in primary school, the teachers got them used to speaking English. I know it takes time, but we need to try. It is worth trying. So go say good morning. The first time they will laugh, or they will think that, what are you saying? Okay, but the next day they will say good morning. The next day they will get used to that. If you say sabah al-khair, assalamu alaikum, they will feel.
No, I don't say it in Arabic. I don't talk in Arabic, but every day they look at me.
I'm not talking about you. Yeah, I'm talking in general. Yeah.
I know, but every day I feel disappointed because I feel that they are trying to challenge to answer me, but they cannot understand. And at the end of the session, they say, "Teacher, even if you speak in English, but your English language is so much different from our English language, or the language that the teacher at the private lesson gave them because of the accent." I think so.
Yeah, probably yes.
Yeah, and this is so much bad. So much worse.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. I totally agree with you concerning that this is a very challenging topic, but this is challenging through the first week, the second week. But if you insist, or if you persist on doing this in class and use English supported by other resources, good morning, okay, they say good morning, and now we will have a lesson about, if you want the students to clean the board, for example, don't say clean the board. No, say please clean the board, like this. So sometimes one time I asked it, or I told my student, I came into the class at the beginning of the year, and the students were very, very astonished when they found me speaking English. So I talked to them in Arabic for a minute and said, "Shabab, does anyone here speak Japanese? حد منكم هنا بيتكلم ياباني?" They said no. Okay, so I told them, okay, what about if I speak to you in Japanese and make you understand? They said, oh, how come? Okay, so I started saying, okay, Muhammad, please stand. I said Japanese words, any Japanese words. It is not Japanese, by the way. I just invented sounds. And so, for example, okay, Giba Biba. And I made like this. Giba Biba. Giba Biba, Giba Biba. So he stood up. He started to stand up. Okay. Tuki Tuki. And made like this. So they sat down. So, okay. Ahmad, please. Kimu Kimu. And I said like this. So he took an eraser, a rubber, and he erased the board. He cleaned the board. So, Kata Kata. So he went to the board. I say, okay, I point to the board. I say, kata kata. So they started doing things. So try to persuade them that they can do things, even in a different language. And then I said, okay, now and start giving instructions that can be supported by your body language, gestures, facial expressions, body language, like this. So this will make them quite convinced that they can do this. When they think that they can do this, when they think that they are or believe in themselves and they can do things differently, they will be able to do other
Yes,
things.
it happens. Some of the students, when they got what I'm talking about, they say it in Arabic, and the others look at them. When I say yes, it's true, perfect, the others look at them. How could he? And they try to do it.
Right. So you need to change their attitude towards learning or towards using English in class, and this will work with you, inshallah.
Thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions? I'm trying to check if anybody else has a question. Mr. Khalid. Mr. Khalid, Mr. Khalid, Mr. Khalid, yes. Mr. Khalid, do you have a question? I'm trying to unmute you, but no response.
Hi, I'm Lotfy.
Hi, Mr. Khalid.
Yeah, I first want to thank you for this amazing session. It's really beneficial. And I want to tell you that I'm going to be with you.
You're always welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Just want to tell you that I'm going to be with you in the next round of the off-call calls with you and Mr. Said Bashar, inshallah.
Inshallah, thank you so much. You're always welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor for me. My question is for the term of the terminology of micro-teaching. So could you please tell us definition of it and how can we do it effectively in class? Thank you.
Well, micro-teaching can be applied in training teachers and in class too. So if you think that in terms of training teachers, I can ask you now, after giving a session about grammar, I can ask teachers to work in groups of 3. One will be a teacher and the other will be students, and they do micro-teaching. They start demonstrating what they have learned in the session. But in terms of class, you can do micro-teaching in 2 ways. In 2 different ways. The first way is tutoring, as I said. While you are monitoring around the class and you think that one of the students missed some instructions or he missed some of the concepts that you have presented in the presentation stage, so you start micro-teaching. So you're teaching 1 student or 2 students or a small group of students. This is micro-teaching. This is one way or one phase of micro-teaching. The other way is when you give students the chance to be teachers, to change the roles of the students. I mentioned this in this session when I said, when fast finishers, for example, finish the task very, very early or earlier than their friends, other students are working on the same task, but I have 2 or 3 students who always finish earlier than others. Very smart students. So I can ask them to go to the other or to join other groups and start helping them. They will do kind of micro-teaching. They will help giving the rule or explaining something. This is also micro-teaching. So we can do this by the teacher. The teacher can do the micro-teaching through tutoring students while he is monitoring. This is one way. And you can also encourage and train your students to be teachers sometimes, to help each other, to help other groups, or to help other students. This is what we mean by micro-teaching. Hope I answered your question, Mr. Khan. Okay. Okay, so please, Mr. Khalid, if I answered your questions, please let me know in the chat box. But if you need to ask a follow-up question or have something else, please let me know. Well, micro-teaching with young learners, yes, sometimes it depends on the level of your students. Some young learners are very smart and they can do this, yes. And you can do micro-teaching with young learners as a teacher, yes, sure, you should do this. as a teacher, you go to some groups of learners and give them some tutoring. Like, yes, excellent. Fast finishers, students, can they yell? Yes, sure, they can. Okay, Mr. Khalid, welcome. If you have any other questions, please raise a hand. Okay. Let me say thank you so much for this nice session. I enjoyed myself a lot in this session. I hope you find it useful and interesting to you. And I am sorry because the session took the form of lecture because of the large number of teachers in the session and you know the limited time. So thank you so much for this this nice time I spent with you. Thank you so much, Mr. Muhammad and Ms. Maha, for hosting me today. I really enjoyed being with you, and it makes me proud, actually.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, Dr. Lotfy, for being with us. It was an amazing session. We all benefited from it. And I've seen, mashallah, the number of questions that the teachers asked you. This was great. Thank you for being with us. Thanks a lot, everybody, for attending our sessions. Today was the last night in Ramadan nights. Inshallah, بنوعدكم
شكرا لحضرتك. شكرا لحضرتك يا دكتور لطفي وعلى تشريفك، والله نورتنا النهارده.
أشكرك جدا يا مس مها، شكرا ليكم والله.
ان شاء الله بعد رمضان هنعمل نايتس ثانيه هتكون اسبوعيه باذن الله، ونعمل لكم جدول جديد ونجيب نفس ضيوفنا الجمال دول وضيوف تاني ان شاء الله ينورونا ونتعلم منهم. خليكم معانا دايما في ليتس اكاديمي، هنجيب لكم الناس اللي بتحبوهم والناس الكبار العمالقه زي دكتور لطفي وزي الناس كلها اللي جت عندنا. شكرا ليكم، كلكم طيبين، وما تنسوناش من الدعاء ان شاء الله كده في العشر الاواخر. تصبحوا على خير يا دكتور لطفي، تصبحوا على خير يا جماعه. السلام عليكم ورحمه الله وبركاته.
تصبحوا على خير مستر محمد وبسمها، وكلكم تصبحوا على خير، وشكرا جدا، متشكر جدا. مع الف سلامه، مع الف سلامه.